Three, two, one. Today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Is there something stopping you from taking that next step in your life? Is there something blocking you from being happy? Well, then you should check out BetterHelp.com. BetterHelp is an online service that will connect you with one of their professional personal counselors in under 48 hours. Their counselors are specialized in many areas, including stress, anxiety, anger, and depression. You'll be able to schedule weekly video or phone sessions with your counselor in a safe and private online environment. BetterHelp is also more affordable and a more convenient option than the traditional in-person counseling. We here at the 2-on-1 podcast want you to start living a happier life today. As a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting our sponsor at betterhelp.com/listener. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health. Again, that's BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/listener.
Lads, we're back. Hockey's
We're
here.
Yeah.
Woo!
Well,
Hockey is
to a certain extent, hockey is here.
Yeah, McDavid's not though. Woo!
I don't think either of our teams, and obviously Anaheim being the outlier, have
Big
played a
win last night.
game
No,
since our
well,
last
the Habs-
episode.
Yeah, the Habs don't play for like another 8 days. Another game just got postponed a few minutes ago. It's not a great time. But Devils, why did I say the Devils? No, they lost to Anaheim last night, even though Thomas Tatar scored. Love to see it. Do you guys see that Sonny Milano tried the Zegras pass?
It was
Really?
against Philly.
No, I did not.
It was against Philly. Yeah, it was Philly. Why am I thinking New Jersey? No, they played Boston. They made it a game.
Yeah.
I watched both games. I don't know how I got that mixed up.
You brought up Trevor Zegras. I'm not sure if you guys saw. There was a Twitter poll from NHL, their Twitter account, and it was best goal of the year so far, or best goal of the season. So it was McDavid. I don't remember the second one, but
McDavid again.
yeah, they honestly could have put
had
McDavid
to.
twice, but they put Trevor Zegras.
Which it wasn't even him who scored.
Right. I was like, guys, it's like simple. Like maybe it's assist of the year. I'm cool with putting it there.
And then it was just like, and it was Cale Makar's goal last night.
Yes,
So-
that's it. Sorry, that's the
Mhm.
second
So,
goal. Yeah.
I watched, I tuned in for the end of the Colorado game, so I saw it. My goodness. So Kirby Dach, I feel really bad for him because last year, obviously, he had to recover from, his injured wrist. I think he broke it. And now he has to recover from broken ankles for what Cale Makar did to him last night.
Oh.
He is still trying to get his jockstrap out the rafters of the United Center right now. And Cale Makar didn't even know it was him. He's just like, yeah, some defenseman. That was such a dirty goal. Cale Makar, I continue to say he's the best skater in the league. My goodness, he's almost like he hasn't been around though, so you can't say he's better than this player, but he is somehow a better skater than Erik Karlsson was in his prime. It's hilarious to really just see how good Cale Makar is already. He's slowly becoming one of my favorite players to watch.
One of these days, maybe at the end of the season, we should have Mike on again, and you guys should have the Cale Makar, like a serious Cale Makar versus Adam Fox debate, because I think that would be interesting. Like, because they're both having very good seasons, and I'm sure it'll come. They're both going to be finalists for the Norris. I think you can't really question that, but I'd be very interested to see that.
Steve Makar keeps scoring goals because he is this guy is so stupid good. I love watching him so much. He is must-watch television. I wish we could see more Colorado stuff in here. Another great game from Troy Terry too, Daniel. I know you love him.
Yeah.
We all thought it was a fluke at the start of the year, but he's just kept chugging along.
Yeah, he had a hat trick last night.
That's not bad.
And I tweeted it out that he loves scoring on Carter Hart, whatever the level is, the World Juniors.
Oh,
The
get
NHL.
out. How dare you?
I'm
That
sorry,
was
I know
so
it.
funny. That was hilarious. I laughed out loud when I saw that tweet.
Could you?
I'm not gonna lie, a certain percentage of me, like a part of me, was like, this actually kind of hurts posting this when I look back on 2017 World Juniors.
And then the Russians are there, like, yeah, we know. Don't people forget that he eliminated the Russians too?
Yeah.
It's really funny. I would love to see like the Caps and the Ducks just. I wish you could change the shootout format where instead it can just be one guy the whole time. Like how if you get past, like in the World Juniors nowadays, it's or in like any sort of world stuff, it's after the first three you can send out whoever you want, and just have Oshie and Terry just go back and forth like a tennis match. That's how you save the shootout. That's what you should do for the All-Star game this year, the skills competition.
Yeah. Also, Elias Pettersson, by the way, he did the Forsberg earlier last year technically.
Yeah, but he doesn't have the acumen of doing it at an Olympics like Oshie did or World Juniors like Troy Terry did, and just not like Pettersson's good. Yeah, Diesel's he's clearly a fan, and I don't know if you
didn't even
hear
it.
Much. Oh, really? Oh, so I guess
I heard something. I didn't know what that was. Yeah,
that's huge.
Shout out Zoom for the high noise cancellation.
Exactly. So Nylander finally got traded.
I know.
Finally,
it's incredible.
I'm
Michael, right?
I'm so mad.
Was it Michael?
No, it wasn't Michael. So William Nylander. No, not even William.
You didn't even mean to do that.
Alex Nylander gets traded from the Chicago Blackhawks in exchange. He goes to Chicago. No, I am awful. He goes to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh send back Sam Lafferty. Frank Saravelli was saying that it looked like with Evgeny Malkin coming back that Lafferty was probably going to hit the waiver wire. So we all know how this works, right? Nylander's going to resurge his career, and then he'll go back to Buffalo and sign a deal, and he'll probably be bought out of it because he's not worth it because he's not going to do it with Crosby anymore. But what just a weird trade for Chicago that they turned Henry Jokiharju into Sam Lafferty.
I already knew that was going to be bad when they did that. I mean, I admit, like, I was a bit off. Like, I thought Henry Jokiharju was the biggest steal of the 2017 draft. And I mean, he's only 22 at this point, but I thought that he was going to take the next level. And he was a building part of there where, ironically, with Adam Boquist, I really thought that with Chicago.
Yeah.
And he hasn't really performed. He's been good, but the thing is with Alex Nylander, I'm happy to see that he has a new start. He missed all of last season, and he's only 23. He could turn things around. I still think there's a reason why he went in the top 10. So we'll see how that goes.
Daniel, you brought up Adam Boquist there, and I remember when the trade happened. Obviously, as you said, we talked about it was weird. Boquist and Jokiharju, we saw those two guys as pillars in a way of Chicago's defense. Now Chicago has neither of them.
What about Seth Jones and Calvin DeHaan? I'm sure that works, doesn't it?
And Caleb Jones,
yeah,
but he was a healthy scratch last game.
Was he?
Yeah.
Chicago. I remember Mike telling me, they're going to turn it around, and they're not. Can't wait to see what Marc-Andre Fleury possibly goes for, by the way. Can't wait to see what that kind of happens here. In other news, there's been a non-hockey stuff because I see there are some things where some sports stories you see and you think that's a joke tweet and it turns out to be. Too bad Antonio Brown is not is somehow a real person. So he quit. He stripped down and quit on the Bucks. I can't believe what I was like. I couldn't believe it. I saw the tweet like, there's no way this is possible. Obviously found the video. How does that happen?
Just got mad. That also, it's like, okay, he's the bigger name here, right? Like he was a star at one point, but that also happened in the NBA last week as well. Kevin Porter Jr. Yeah, Kevin Porter Jr. on the Houston Rockets got into an argument with two of the coaches, and I think it was, and I don't know if this was accurate, but like before the second half, he just left the arena.
But did he strip his clothes off on the court?
He might have.
He did not. That's why, but he's not like the bigger name here, but he still did that same thing. He walked off the team, he went back, he put civilian clothes on, and he left the arena.
He's just gone.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate.
Gone. As there was I remember the buzz when he went to the Raiders, and it lasted all but 10 seconds because we all knew he wanted to go to Tampa Bay. Not a big football, obviously, but
it's just it was so weird. You're right. Like it was like I was kind of shocked when I saw the video because like this doesn't happen.
You didn't think it was real.
I think maybe the closest we've ever had something like that in hockey.
Don't use Darren mention what I think you're about to mention.
Like, but that's not even close to comparable because he got pulled. He literally left. Like, he just got up.
We're talking about Patrick.
Okay,
I'm talking about Patrick Waugh, but I didn't want to say the name.
There's another example. Well, it's a minor, like Igor Bobkov on the World Juniors for Russia. This was a while ago, but he got like lit up by Canada, and after I think the last goal, he just walked himself into the locker room. But the thing is, he actually came back onto the bench like after the second period.
This is a Russian?
Yeah.
Well, that's in character. Remember, they're going home. Huh? They're going home. Remember, was it the Flyers bullied the Red Army back in the day?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of Bobkov's all-time moments. They're going home. Yeah, they're going home. Legendary stuff in the game of hockey. Legendary stuff.
So, who would an Antonio Brown be in the NHL? Like, who would be the most likely NHLer right now to do it?
Ooh, to just walk off.
To just walk off.
$1 million. Patrick Berglund. He's not as crazy, but he literally was like, he threw millions of dollars on the fire.
Yeah.
Personality-wise, I don't know who is that narcissistic.
I don't know if they're like hockey players for the most part are very close to themselves guy. No personality per se. Like, we're getting there. Like, we're getting to guys having personality. Like, we talked about it. Look at the interviews that Matthew Tkachuk and Jack Hughes had in the summer and tell me that's not personality. It's not close to what we see in the NBA and NFL and even MLB to an extent, but we're getting there. Like, it's just, I don't think we have that yet. I don't think we have that level of personality in the NHL.
And if I had to say someone in history, then the closest one is Waugh, because Waugh loves walking out on people as a coach, a player.
Yeah.
Part of the man's identity, to be honest with you.
That happened with the Olympics too for him, 2002.
That's what I mean.
Where he's like, I'm not even coming to the summer camp.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he's Patrick Waugh. Don't hire him, please. Speaking of Canada stuff, we have some information regarding Team Canada's long list, aka the one that doesn't have the NHLers on it. Now, Darren, this tweet, this from Scott Wheeler. Darren Dreger did sort of go out that maybe there are players like on this list, like Cole Perfetti, that aren't eligible. So there is a bit of confusion, but there are some names for sure that you can see being on there. I'm not going to go through every single one. I'll mention some notable ones. Owen Power. Imagine it's a World Juniors and an Olympic gold before getting a World Juniors. That'd be really funny. Also looking, Cody Franzen is on the list.
Leafs legend Cody Franzen.
Go ahead, Alex.
Did we not sign him in when we did that stint with the Seattle Kraken?
Yes,
that's hilarious.
Because we need the big body right-hand shot who also could give us some offensive numbers from the blue line.
We thought we had the right situation. Remember how nice our jerseys were?
Oh, beautiful.
That was great.
Devin Dubnyk. Yes. No. Devin Dubnyk.
Hold on. Former Vezina nominee. Devin Dubnyk.
Yes. Caden Gooley is in there, our boy. Did you
Captain Canada?
This one I think is more plausible because he's not an NHL contracted player. Josh Hosang, we know, has been good. Devin Levi, remember him. Some other ones. Two ones that are kind of notable here for the wrong reasons. Brandon Leipsic and Jake Virtanen. I don't know what Hockey Canada.
What are they thinking with those?
I'll tell you what they're thinking.
Like, what are they thinking with that? Like Jake Virtanen, like I know he's not even. Did you look at his numbers in the KHL?
He wasn't even a factor before. I mean,
I don't get it.
No, I don't either. Daniel Winnick is there. Jason Demers, Daniel Carr, and another name on this list, and apparently his agent has confirmed his interest, Eric Stahl. What if Eric Stahl never signed anywhere because he was waiting for the Olympic news to come out?
I think maybe Eric Stahl was just as pessimistic as many people, and thinking the NHL is not going to.
He's going to use the Olympics to get a contract.
Yeah,
I mean, I would have taken the flyer on Eric Stahl, not in Montreal specifically, because I thought they were gonna.
He could still play. Like he stayed healthy. He could still contribute in the bottom six. Like.
He was great on that fourth line for Montreal in the playoffs, right?
Natural leader.
Yeah, no, I think he still has value. It's just the right place. Patrick Marleau's not on this list, but I still have hope. By the way, when I was watching the Philly game last night, I was thinking to myself because they were mentioning they brought up not Kevin Hayes, Keith Yandel. He's not far off of the consecutive games played record, right? He must be living in a bubble wrap box right now, trying to avoid getting COVID. If he loses he's getting so close to the consecutive games played record. He's so close. My guy, he goes out wearing 10 masks and that. I'm curious about how that's going to go. I'm very, very curious. But the Olympics, it's exciting, isn't it? It's very, very exciting.
I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful.
Aren't we all? I'm hopeful that Mike Babcock will probably get hired in Edmonton just for the memes, because it looks like Dave Tippett's job. We talked about it a little bit. Unfortunately, it's not realistic to think of Babcock because it seems to be, there was reported in insider trading, it looks like Dave Tippett is staying in place unless things get worse. And how can things get worse? Well, Wednesday night national game versus the Leafs, Connor McDavid's not playing tonight because he has COVID. What do we think of that, guys? It doesn't help. Oh, before we do that, I should probably mention Mikko Koskinen. As you remember, I think we actually read out the quote last episode. Dave Tippett basically said he thought the Oilers played well in this other game. Unfortunately, Koskinen was not great. I can't remember who that was against off the top of my head. Anyway, this is a quote today that came out from Mikko Koskinen on his critics from the media and Tippett as well. Quote, it's not nice being thrown under the bus. I have to be better, but at the same time, we scored 7 goals in my last 6 starts. I can't score goals. He's not wrong.
No, he's not. With the Tippett thing, by the way, that quote about unless it gets worse. Remember, Jim Benning did say that about Travis Green.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're not the same situation, but we can get there real quick. But with the Koskinen stuff, this is just my personal opinion. I've never been a coach or general manager of any kind, but I don't think it was necessarily right for Dave Tippett to walk out to the media and essentially throw his goaltender under the bus. When we discussed last episode, this isn't a one issue. It's not just one issue with the Edmonton Oilers. It goes from depth scoring to their defense not playing well, and their goaltending isn't fantastic. Like, it's a 3-pronged thing here. It's not just one thing. So for him to call out his goalie like that, I don't think it was fair on Koskinen to do that in the media. You want to do it behind the scenes, go ahead, but I don't think it's fair.
For me, I think it was, in a way, I guess the pressure that went to Dave Tippett. I think from all of us, we know the experience when it comes to interviewing people who kind of just give you the PR answers. And Dave Tippett is an old-time coach. He's someone that is a bit more stoic with things. And I think, and this is just my opinion, I think it's just the big market with how things are going right now for them and just trying to find an answer to it. But I completely agree with you, Alex. Like, if you're going to talk about Mikko Koskinen and really kind of, zero in on that, you should also talk about the other aspects. You're not scoring, you're not getting a lot from your supporting cast. So it was interesting. It's maybe there's something there that we just don't know.
Did you call it Mike Smith after the Devils game? No. Yeah, there was the controversy of Dougie Hamilton playing that game, and Smith's been hurt, but he wasn't great there. What I think is so unfair to Mikko Koskinen is, I remember last year, the reason I was really against people criticizing him last season is, you remember Mike Smith, again, at the start of the year was hurt, and they didn't trust Stuart Skinner, and they played Koskinen into the ground. He was doing what he could. Listen, and people don't love his salary. Koskinen's doing everything he can. And listen, he may not be the level of goaltender that a McDavid or Draisaitl are forwards. But dude, and he's at a 900 save percentage. That's below league average right now. But still, he's got nothing to work with. You got Duncan Keith, who can't seem to make a play, never knows when to pinch properly. And I didn't like it either. And, good on Koskinen for standing up for himself, because it's super unfair. Something else that was coming out, and I think this was Darren Dreger on Insider Trading too. Right now, of course, the Oilers are looking at getting a third line center. Fair enough. They're also looking at acquiring a goalie. And I can't be the only one screaming right now. Jake Allen makes so much sense for Edmonton. Cheap.
Yeah.
2 years.
Will they want to go with that though? Like, because I like Jake Allen a lot.
He's better than Smith and Koskinen.
He is, but
and he's
I don't know.
Cheap.
Like,
they need cheap players.
Is he gonna be the not the guy? But I mean, like, just like beyond this, looking beyond this season, how is that gonna look with Jake Allen?
They don't have anyone in the pipeline. Well, they could just for both.
They have I don't want to say his name because he was a very controversial name on this podcast 2 episodes ago.
Oh,
Olivier Rodrigue.
Whatever. Blah. Blah.
No, but I think Daniel does make a point, because if you're Ken Holland, and I keep seeing and it was in Friedman's 32 Thoughts, that not making the playoffs this year is not an option. And I agree, wholeheartedly agree, that the Edmonton Oilers must make the playoffs for multiple people to continue having their jobs, along with players staying in Edmonton. But I don't know if finding a solution that's just going to fix it now is worth it. Like, what are you like there? And the thing is, though, is there anything out there that you can go get that's going to fix it that's going to fix your goaltending for the next, let's say, 2 to 3 years? Because I don't think Marc-Andre Fleury does that either. And I know that's a name that keeps getting thrown in. How, like, Marc-Andre Fleury is how old?
37.
37.
No.
You're throwing yourself into the same boat you're doing with Mike Smith. Now, Fleury's much better, in my opinion, than Mike Smith, but the situation is very similar. So if you're Ken Holland, you have to decide what route you're taking. Because when he came here, he said, this is going to be a X year plan. Like, I remember the press conference saying this isn't going to be all fun and games, essentially. And he has to decide what path he wants to stick on. The path that might lose him his job, or another path that also might lose him his job.
I think you do whatever you can right now, whatever, because here's the thing. For the Oilers to get an elite goaltender, they're going to have to give up a guy like Evan Bouchard, which they can't do. So you have to get a short-term fix, because what goalies are out there? The Bruins aren't going to give up Swayman or I can't remember his name, Allmark, because who knows what Tuukka Rask looks like a year from. They'd be fools to trade him. Maybe Georgiev, but is he a better option than some of the guys out there? Korpisalo has a year left, so that's going to be a rental. It's around $5 million. So Columbus could retain on it, but that's going to be even more of a premium because Jarmo Kekalainen's a devil to deal with. So they have to make a move. Like, they have to make a move. We can agree they have to.
100%.
I'm just thinking, like, who else is there? Like, what other goaltenders are out there as options right now? We're thinking Fleury, maybe not. We're thinking Allen, maybe he's not the best solution. I disagree. I think he's a great option for them right now. But I just, like, who else? Like, I'm just quickly looking by, like, and I'm even looking at some TSN trade boards. Bernier, nah. Bernier, and I mean, obviously, we were all thinking before. How about Godobin? No. I'm sure the Sens would be happy with the power of Matt Murray. No, we're not doing that. There is a lot to question right now in Edmonton. And even I'm off the board of, no, we can't do this anymore with Mike Smith. It's not going to happen.
You're right. They shot, but I think the reality with Edmonton is, in terms of their goaltending, they shot themselves in the foot by not properly addressing it in the offseason. Whether that, honestly, if they let Mike Smith go, per se, and brought in Jonathan Bernier as an example. I mean, the dream was to go out and get Jacob Markstrom 2 years ago. Couldn't happen. But, and we've talked about that so much, but there was just better options. And I think they shot themselves in the foot by signing Mike Smith.
Mm-hmm. Wait, say it again?
I think they shot themselves in the foot by signing Mike Smith.
For the second year.
Correct. Well, okay. For this year too, they should have gone out and gotten a better goalie than Mike Smith and Mikko Koskinen.
Okay.
They should have changed things
this.
around.
I've been hearing this right now. The second year is not great. He
Correct.
makes $2.2 million.
I understand, but he's not a good enough goalie for this team as a starter.
Yeah, but this is more than he was great in the playoff. He at least earned it. I think
was
the
not
bigger
great in the
question
playoffs.
was they never moved Koskinen, which they've been trying to do for years. And instead of saving the cap space, you went out and got CC in that. I think the bigger problem is I think, and I was listening to STB, so I heard Adam Wild mention it too. I think going to the Smith route is lazy right now. I just, especially with the work he did last year for them. Again, though, this is at the end of the day, this is just another criticism of how poorly ran Holland's Oilers have been. I don't mean to cut you guys off here. It's just we've been on we're nearly half an hour in and we're still in Edmonton and we have a lot to get to. So if you just want to give your closing thoughts here, go ahead. But they're such a mess. I kind of hope that the Leafs kind of stamp them tonight.
No, my point is purely from a goaltending standpoint. I think if you weren't willing to buy out Mikko Koskinen, which clearly they weren't.
Yeah.
And why would you re-sign Mike Smith? I get it, but he also wasn't great in the playoffs. They got swept.
That wasn't on Smith.
That was on everybody. I don't the same goes with any team getting swept like that. That was on every single person, including Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Everyone.
Whoa,
100%. You said it yourself. You said it yourself.
Whoa.
These are not really final thoughts.
Whoa.
Extending.
Whoa. Okay, go ahead, Daniel. Whoa.
I don't know. I think for me, the one thing that kind of bothered me was when they re-signed Mike Smith. It's just, to me, it kind of felt like, did you really look at all options available? Or did you just tell yourselves, all right, we're just going to go run with the same thing? And I think they're finding themselves in a place right now where they're not exactly on paper built to go for the long run, but at the same time, they don't have the assets to get someone for that long run. And it's just going to be another quick fix kind of thing when you look towards the deadline. And I feel like we're going to have the same conversation next year too.
The next conversation about the Oilers is going to be McDavid wanting out. Breaking news, by the way, 2022 Scotiabank Hockey Day in Canada has been postponed, guys. What a shame. What a shame. Don't mind it, though. Okay, where else are we? Third line centers for the Oilers. Who knows? We have more content than I thought we were going to be. So maybe we hold off on the OUA stuff. But that is kind of crap. So let's go to the 32 Thoughts stuff, eh? So in 32 Thoughts, this is not the podcast. This is the written blog that I know the podcast is great. Read the blog too. It's amazing. And Friedman drops it at the best times. All right. He was talking a bit about in that piece about Letang and Malkin being up, their contract negotiations coming up. Letang being sort of very quiet to himself about it. Malkin just joking about the dollar amount. But I just kind of looked at it and I thought, is this year not the last true hurrah for the Penguins because if one of Malkin or Letang go, you're not replacing that.
They never leave they always leave one of them in the NHL game. So we can only look at that as an indication of how everything is going to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's just, maybe you can get half of that player for Sam Poulin. He will get traded, I swear.
But I agree with you. I don't know. I think we've said it the last 2 years or so, never doubt Sidney Crosby. But at the same time, the way I see this roster is they're playing above expectations and there's not really a structure here. I know it's kind of unfair if I compare them to 2016 or 17, but you look at the players that had to step up during times of injury. Those are the type of the guys that I trusted. Like here, I don't think Evan Rodriguez is going to keep playing like this forever.
No.
That guy has been so good this year. I think there was a game he had earlier this season when he had like 10 shots. The guy is talk about the Pittsburgh effect, right? That's going to be Nylander. Maybe Nylander will turn out so well for them they don't need Malkin anymore. It's just interesting to kind of look at the Penguins and you're like, this is interesting, isn't it? If it's
You're
not
betting on a lot of upside, I think, with them.
what?
You're betting on a lot of upside with them where, we have an Alex Nylander now. Where is he going to fit? He's not really a bottom six guy. Or
I
you
don't
have
think-
like a Kasperi Kapanen where when he comes back, like, where is he going to, like, what Kapanen are you going to get?
I don't think they're betting on Nylander. I think that's a flyer type thing.
Mhm.
Kapanen's a weird one though. I remember there was that quote from Sullivan who was like, I want to pull it out of Kapanen. He's kind of like Alex Semin. You know what I mean? Like the tools are there, but it's just like, well, at least Semin had a few good years when you knew he could pot some goals, but Kapanen is going to be a case study for a long, long time. Very, very long time. Looking at Arizona, though, also in 32 thoughts. Here. Oh, my Mike, how dare you? Oh, no, that's not good. Oh, flashing again, gentlemen. Okay, well, now it should be back on again. Adventure.
It's like a remix.
Yeah, I agree. Bonfire. Kind of like the bonfire fire sale changes that continue to happen in Arizona. Am I right, lads? Friedman also kind of pointed out that the first big move of the year could be a Jakob Chychrun move. It was then also reported that it could be an Eichel-like return, or that's what the Coyotes would want. And actually, we know that Phil Kessel is definitely going to get dealt before the deadline. Where do you guys, and the answer should be Edmonton, but everyone keeps saying that's not happening. Where do you guys see Jakob Chychrun landing?
Daniel, why don't you go first?
Paying
Okay.
replacement.
For me, and I actually thought about this only like a minute ago.
Yeah.
And it's because of Alex Baumgartner,
Ah,
where he's like, I'd like to look into this, and it's the Florida Panthers. I'm like, it makes sense. Like, it's a controllable cost for what you get with Jakob Chychrun, and Florida has so many assets they could just throw at it to get that type of package that the Coyotes want. So I could see him going there. And I think when we mentioned before the Panthers, I think that there's been enough of a track record now to see that there's stability there, even without Joel Quenneville, even when they did lose to the Lightning. I think that there's enough evidence there now for them to show these types of players that we're serious about winning.
Alex?
It's a little off base because it's not necessarily someone you'd think that they'd go after, but I have the New York Rangers they have. I think they didn't trade that capital we expected them to for Jack Eichel, so they still do have that capital there. It's just not the rough and tough guy maybe you'd expect them to go after, but it's a guy that I think they can keep for a few years down the line, considering, we know what his skill is. Is he currently playing to it? No, but I think going into an environment that I'd say right now is quite successful, I don't see why he couldn't regain that form.
You know what I'm thinking of?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. You know what I'm thinking of right now? If Jakob Chychrun goes to the Rangers or if he goes to the Panthers, it just reminds me of, it goes from that part in Endgame where it's Captain America by himself.
Yeah.
And then
everyone comes in.
Falcon's like on your left, and then everybody comes. So like he has the support finally. Like he's not the only one on that blue line.
Right.
Or Tampa.
Oh my god.
Just because that's not the team I was thinking of, but just because Tampa. I was thinking of St. Louis because I'm like, listen, St. Louis, you need them. I think I talked about after the Winter Classic episode, I think they need another D. I think he'd be the best defenseman on that team. Obviously, no one is Alex Pietrangelo, but if you picked up Parayko and his defensive ability and Chychrun's offensive ability, boom. And I don't think he's a much better Justin Falk. I feel like Chychrun is kind of what they hoped they would get in Justin Falk's sort of replacement level thing. I think he's a better offensive guy than Torrey Krug. But I think it would be a good fit there. And what's funny enough about all these teams is they're also sort of linked that if you're not willing to pay a super price, aka an A+ prospect and a first for this guy, maybe you just throw up a first and like a late round pick for retained salary, bench her up. And so that goes to my next question. and we can't say Florida or St. Louis here because we're not going to repeat ourselves.
Okay.
Where can you guys see Ben Sherratt landing? It's just the start of trade discussions because it's heating up, gentlemen. Daniel, you were the first for Chychrun, and I'm going to make you the first for Ben.
The Edmonton Oilers, because
there it is.
It just makes sense that it's a panic move for them where Ken Holland already has done this so many times. Like we talk about Andreas Antanasiou, but also with the way he was with the Red Wings, like he was giving up assets for like a 36-year-old Eric Cole, or he was getting David Legwand in the trade deadline just to extend the window for the Red Wings. And I think Ben Sherratt is a good middle for them where he's still a guy where he is really effective this year. I'd still argue he's still in his prime, but it's a bit of a panic move where they will give up an asset to just add someone at the deadline, especially if they don't get a goalie.
I like it, Alex.
Yeah, I actually have 6 teams, but I'll pick one.
Oh wow, it's a reversal between you and
yeah,
I.
I do. I'm gonna go with the and I know it would never happen, but I have the Boston Bruins listed, and I'll explain why. I'm not sure if you've read the chatter out of Boston lately. It very much seems they need a guy who, they want a guy who's rough and tough and will beat the crap out of somebody.
Boston guy.
And that's how, and to be honest, yeah, Ben Sherratt kind of fits that description. Now, will that happen? Probably not, but I do think that it would be a very good fit for the Boston Bruins, especially for the playoffs.
Yeah, no, if Ben Sherratt would fit in brilliantly there. How do you sell Bruins fans on giving up a first round pick? Play the clip of him and Matthews going at it in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
And it is as simple as that. I'm going to bet Carolina just because for some reason they acquire defensemen all the time. And they're just funny like that. I would like the Rangers also just to see Mike cry.
When I wrote that, I was writing down the list of teams. I was originally going to write every team in the Metro because I just thought every team in the Metro could use Ben Sherratt, like in my eyes, looking at even just adding him.
Mm-hmm. He is a frustrating case, Mr. Benjamin Sherratt, but for some reason we continue to love you. But just bring us some good picks and then rebuild.
Vitaly Kravtsov.
Kravtsov.
Sorry.
What's going on with that? Anyway, can't wait till they trade him for a 4th to LA. Do you remember Elias Anderson? Anyway, the Ducks, their GM search. There's a committee together, and 2 members of that committee, Paul Kariya and Scott Niedermayer. Why?
Okay, so I actually love it. So here's 2 reasons. Scott Niedermayer's been around the team since he retired. I actually love that. He stayed with the Ducks. He didn't go back to the Devils. And also Paul Kariya, that is the big one for me because for so long, especially because of the concussion problems and before he was inducted in the Hall of Fame, he didn't want to do anything with hockey anymore. Like he distanced him, like he caused a lot of distancing with a lot of people. He didn't really want to talk. I remember like late in his career, Teemu Selanne even tried to recruit him back to the Ducks, but he couldn't really recover from the concussions. And it's nice it's refreshing to see that he's taking on an active role now, even if it's just a search committee. Like he's just taking an active role and just kind of he's embracing again, like what he means to like the Ducks and what he means to hockey in California. So for me, that alone was great. Like that's what I like.
Fair enough. I didn't. It feels like nowadays, like the search committees, it's not even just a GM search, but it's like the committee stuff. We saw it with Montreal and that, and like Gainey and that. It's just it's nice to have a guy familiar with the market. I think that's fair. Fair enough.
They're pretty okay now without like a full GM. So
sorry,
promote one of the guys in there already.
Yeah, you know what? That's what's funny about Anaheim is they got contenders there, and see, this is why I'm pretty sure Martin Madden Jr. is probably staying in Anaheim because it's Anaheim. He's basically built that team, if you think about it. Not his GM, but his scouting work. I wonder if there's been permission, if anyone reached out about that with the Habs search, or even if he wasn't interested because he can see himself being that role. Or maybe he doesn't. He doesn't like how it ends up there because they block him. He leaves and goes to another team and they pay him handsomely because just what have you done? Why should we pay you a lot of money? Hello there.
You know what's going to happen? It's going to be a Kawhi Leonard situation. He's going to leverage one of the teams.
Dude, just come to Montreal. We'll give you all the money you want, dude. You want some of that Molson cash?
Yeah, let him go to Montreal, and then may I suggest a Dave Notice? He does still work for that organization.
Oh.
I can't wait for Josh Manson to leave. He signs with the Leafs, and we can finally have Leafs Twitter shut up about Josh Manson. That is
good old days.
Yep. Trade front. Apparently, it really sounds like Mark Giordano is going to be gone from Seattle. I question why you made him captain then. I love that. First captain in franchise history. He's going to be gone in a couple months. Does it not make sense for him to go back to Calgary?
I don't see why not. I think that's something they could use. Like, again, we're going to have the discussion for about the next few months about the trade deadline. And, you know, any team could use a potentially top 4 defenseman, even if you're not going to use, I don't know why you wouldn't use Mark Giordano in the top 4, but you certainly have the capability to.
Do you think there's any like sore feelings there of him saying, you know, you guys didn't protect me?
I thought there were reports saying he understood. Because don't forget, at the same time, Milan Lucic was as well. Like, I mean, he was like, okay, I'll lift my trade protection. I'll do it for the team and that. I'm sure Giordano is a humble enough guy where he would understand. I think we don't give players enough credit sometimes that they understand it's a business. Yeah, he meant a lot to the city, but at the same time, you have to. It's for the betterment of the team. So I don't think too. And is he really going to be that bad to get out of Seattle right now, who are just a pit of bottom of the standings?
Maybe he's going to Edmonton, staying on the West Coast.
That would be so funny.
I mean, they could use a guy like him.
They could. Edmonton. The Battle of Alberta would be so funny. That would be so good, Daniel. Also, Claude Giroux. Can Philly just trade him already? We're getting into Sam Bennett territory of they're going to move on from Claude Giroux.
Yeah.
So we're like officially okay with the Flyers are going to be in the playoffs. Like we can set that one in stone.
But yeah, because I can't wait to look at the standings later and see how I said they'd win the Metro.
They're 9 points out of let me double check here. Sorry. They are 14 points out of a playoff spot.
No,
sorry, 4 points. 4 points. I can't read.
Wait, they're 4 points out a wild card?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought they were worse than that.
But that being said, Boston, who has the second wild card spot, has 4 games in hand on them.
Okay, yeah.
And Tuukka Rask is coming back any day now.
Oh, okay. Oh, he's on an NHL contract, or is he still their emergency backup goalie?
Both. They haven't. They've got and they haven't turned it in.
Listen, I've said it before. Where the Flyers, I think that there's an expiry date now. They gave themselves the 3 years after they had that unexpected surge in the second half of a season, and then they did make the playoffs. But I just don't think that there's enough there. They tried to build on it in the offseason, and it completely blew up in their face. Like, I'm not gonna just say like the Troy Terry goal on Travis Sanheim, but there's been so many situations where their defense, like, I don't know what's going on. Like, you like pick one person and just they've been disappointing on their blue line.
Well, yeah, because they couldn't defend and they got Ristolainen and Yandel. What were you expecting? Like Yandel couldn't even keep a power play together in Florida last year without Aaron Ekblad. Like, can we just? I didn't get it at the time. I don't know why I said they'd win the division. I'm such an idiot.
Oh, the Ryan Ellis factor you've mentioned. I remember in the last episode.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
but he's just been injured.
Yeah. Oh, and I was like Carter Hart, and Carter Hart's been better, but it's just the team in front of him. The disrespect I've seen people throwing Carter Hart's way makes me. I'm just like the similarities with you and Carey Price is hilarious here. If only you had a team, Carter. If only you had a team. Something that's not as fun to talk about. This was led off with in 32 Thoughts. So, Derek Jaslin. I might be saying that wrong.
Derek Joslin? Jocelyn.
Jocelyn? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna read the little beginning like bits of 32 thoughts here because I think it's actually quite good. Willie O'Ree's number 22 is to be retired 2 weeks today in Boston. That's pretty cool. I thought it had already been done, but good. The 64th anniversary of his NHL debut, days after Derek Joslin played his first NHL game on January 3rd, 2009 for San Jose. A special surprise, a handwritten letter from O'Ree himself, welcoming him to the big time. Joslin, from a biracial family, father Jeff is black and mother Darlene is white, still has the note, keeping it at his Ontario home, quote, out of the blue it came, Jeff said. O'Ree wrote Derek's arrival was proof Joslin could do whatever he wanted and could handle any obstacle that came his way. Now 34 and the defenseman for VSV in Villach, Austria. I'm butchering that, and I'm going to butcher some names later because, obviously. Joslin thought a lot about that message. The reason he wished to discuss what happened last Tuesday in a game against Olimpija Luzbilja around the village net. An opposing player imitated a primate in Joslin's face. It's brutal. What the highlights don't caption is that Joslin caught up to the offender, Tajer Simjar, only to see his own teammate on the bench erupt at something that happened behind him. More gestures, and he was told monkey noises from another player. I'm still trying to digest it, Joslin said Monday from Austria. I saw the gesture and thought, WTF was that? I was surprised and saw red. Never before have I been directly affected by this kind of racism until now. I'm in a bit of a shock, and there's a lot of whys. Joslin had mixed reaction about the aftermath. His team is coached by Canadian Rob Daum, who has history with Austrian hockey in the World Championships and Olympics, and features several North American teammates. He was thankful for strong organizational support. Quote, I was satisfied with how quickly the league acted. Sometime in these situations, it's he said, she said, and that didn't happen. The next day, Simzar and teammate Mika Zajsk, I'm so sorry. Well, not to these guys because they're scumbags, were suspended 10 games and fined 3,000 euros. In the meantime, can one of you just do the direct thingy from 3,000 euros to Canadian, please? I know it's not going to be much more than like $3,000, but just for context. Joslin didn't think that's enough. I figured at minimum they'd get the rest of the regular season and maybe return for the playoffs. I care about people learning. If you ban them for life, do they need to learn? If you're a hockey player, playing means everything, but they need to be held accountable. If I hit a guy from behind tomorrow, I could get 10 games. That doesn't seem like it should be the same penalty. There's some more stuff in here about it, including some good stuff actually that Friedman talks about later in the piece. But I'm going to not say it because I want people to read. It helps. First off, I think all of us had flashbacks to a couple months ago to the Andrei Daneshkin stuff, which we still haven't seen a resolution from the IIHF. But still seeing stuff like this, and again, it's even worse with how close this O'Ree celebration is. It still hits hard that this sport is still backwards facing sometimes.
Yeah, like it's just another disappointing thing that for something for this to kind of happen. And I don't know, it's just we talk about like the minor leagues, we talk about the NHL, but I think sometimes there has to be a bit more light on these other professional leagues going on, showing that yeah, this is still a problem with hockey culture, and we're not just talking about the North American aspects of it.
This is the Ice Hockey League, by the way. It has like Austrian teams, Czech teams, Hungary, Italy, Slovakia, Slovenia. It's not a nothing league.
No, and again, I mean, this has been the it's again disappointing. We have to talk about the IIHF because like they should be involved here, similar to how they were involved with Jalen Samarik and Andrei Daneshkin. I mean, they weren't really involved in that. They said they were going to do an investigation. We don't really know the update of that. Are they going to get involved here? Like, based on their previous what they've done in the past, I don't expect them to get involved. Like, it's disappointing that they're not getting involved, or they're not doing something a little more stricter. And I think he said something in one of his quotes about we need to teach people, or how are they going to learn? And I don't know if games suspended and fines are enough. Like, there has to be something else there. Like, it's quite obvious that's the case. Like, clearly that's just fining them, that's not teaching them a lesson. We've seen that in the NHL. So maybe there's a little more that the IIHF or the league can do about it.
Very weird league too, that there's like a bunch of Austrian teams and they compete for the Austrian title and everyone else goes for this separate league title. I'm just looking at it. It's really weird. It's like most titles, ECKAC 31, most recent championships, ECKAC 31st. So you're just thinking like, oh, okay, it's just, I don't want to think anything ill about it, but it's just it's very strange that it has two different ones in the Austrian. I don't know. It's just it's a very, very strange sounding league. I'm trying to find their exact, I'm trying to find exactly how many games they play in a year, just to get a look at how, like, the number of games technically they would lose in their season. And 3. So what, you probably rounded up. It's how much Canadian? Not too much more, but
$4,300 Canadian.
$4,300. It's awful.
No,
for what they I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I still can't find their. I'm going to keep looking to see if I can find it, but just that's awful. That's awful. I'd say I won't slow it down. Anyway, it's not enough. 10 games just simply is not enough. Okay, and if anyone's wondering why you're saying IIHF when it's a different league, they are still responsible over all of those leagues overseas, and they can institute penalties to players and stopping them from playing in their international tournaments. Hence why Kuznetsov can get off light for his white powder incident here, but for Olympics, he is suspended or banned for certain periods of time. So that's probably why people need to just kind of think about that. We talked a little bit earlier about the Habs and Ben Chirot. They made a hiring today, a very popular one. They have a new VP of communications replacing Paul Wilson, and that is Chantal Machimbe. If you don't know who she is, there are certain members of French media that are just Habs fans that have very close to the chest for how much they love. I've talked about Marc Denis, Pierre Oud. Chantal is one of them. Fun fact, remember there was that season ticket holder Q&A I was telling you guys about last year?
Yeah.
For one of them, she actually hosted it with Molson and Bergevin. So she's had this relationship. She's a longtime member of RDS, extremely hardworking. She talks about like when she was a kid and Guy Lafleur inspired her to get into the sport. She's beloved. I think everyone has seen all the different media members kind of reach out. That speaks like all you want about her. So Paul Wilson gone. When Bergevin and all that happened, and Chantal comes in today. Congratulations. It's just, imagine if Steve Dangle got hired. That's the best sort of relation I would feel, like the joy. Okay. It's just how sick it is to see her get this job. Oh, that's cool. And if anyone's curious, apparently she reports directly to France Margaret Bellinguet, who of course came into the fold in the big deal this past summer for the Habs.
That's awesome.
Super PR, like great move by the Habs. Like I think like there was a lot of repair and rebuild with the management, yes. And the very, very smart decision for them to do something like this. Like you just don't wipe the slate clean. I think a big thing is you understood what already worked for them and you retained that.
Yeah, I think to add on to your point, like I think just because you got rid of management doesn't automatically wipe the slate clean. Like the owner is still the owner. That's always going to be in the back of people's minds. So just because you got rid of Bergevin and co doesn't mean that Molson starts with a clean slate. Molson's the guy at the top, right?
And by the way, he deserves it. Like he does. Yes, I don't want to just make it a PR thing. Daniel, you're right, but she freaking deserves it. Like that's so sick. That's nice. Okay. That's everything for the Habs because they're not playing. They're not playing for like another week, so that's a shame. Jeff Gordon, love you, man. Looking at the Leafs, though, they played the Oilers today, and I think it's I think it's time to trade Mitch Marner.
Why?
Okay, so look at the Leafs right now. They're having one of their best seasons ever, right? Okay. And who has stepped in to fill Mitch Marner's offensive game? And is having a career year as well and finally showing people how good his contract is.
Oh, William Nylander.
And who hasn't scored a power play goal this side of the pandemic and is overpaid?
Mitch Marner.
Who has already received most of his real money. So I'm just saying.
This is hilarious because
this is how you get, what is something I've criticized the Leafs for? They don't have a real number one defenseman. Riley is good, but he's not Victor Hedman. Not many people are Victor Hedman. So I just think Marner's became expendable. Is all I'm trying to say. I think it's hashtag Marner out. Send us to Zurich for all I care.
Sorry, doesn't this sound like 2018, 2019 season with like why would we
except I think
Nylander Kapanen's on the first line.
Right. That was an art that was happening at the time. I'm gonna give you I'll be devil's advocate here. I don't necessarily agree with you, but you make some very compelling points. What I will say though, from Kyle Dubas's perspective, and I think we would all be in agreement on this. He's not going to trade Mitch Marner. Since day one, his thing has been the big four: Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares. If he would have done it, he would have done it 2 years ago, last offseason. I can't see him doing it. I think what he's done he has stuck to his guns. And I think whether you like Dubas or not, when someone sticks to their guns in that way, I think like you gotta give him a little bit of credit. Like at least you've stuck to your plan the same way that you go and look at any other GM who has stuck to their plan in it and it works out or it doesn't. I can't see him doing that because his shtick from day one has been, these are the guys, we are going to win with these guys. And he knows, especially this year, if he does not get past the first round, and I think you have to have major success for him to keep that job. Like, I think we're getting to that point. We had that discussion at the beginning of the season, I think. So I just think that's his mentality.
I'm going to say this traditional answer here, nothing new, but Mitch Marner is not at his highest value right now.
Sure.
And
you're not saying you wouldn't do it. You just want
he's been out of the lineup where I'm like, right now I wouldn't do it. I still think he's an elite talent.
Yeah.
He just has to get the reps in. So I wouldn't do it. And also, I don't know, for that, I know the price, but I mean, for like that age where, we don't know how much better he's going to get. I don't think he'd do it
much better than 90 points, man.
I don't know.
But he's 23, 24.
But it's not like Alex Ovechkin didn't score 50 goals, 100 points, and eventually hit 150. Development is rounding out your game and young players learning. You don't have to go gas down all the way every single game. Like Austin Matthews, we may eventually see that he maybe not will never do 100 points, 50 goals. He'll do it a few times, obviously. He'll score 50 this year.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a reason now and then Ovechkin's going to hit a 30-goal plateau or something, or why Sidney Crosby isn't hitting 126 freaking points, and McDavid's not going to hit 120 points every year. You know what I mean? It's just, it's filling out the game. And does Marner still need to fill out his game? Yes, he does. Because he still doesn't know how to play playoff hockey effectively. But I just wanted to throw it out there. What about Connor McDavid? Because for some reason this has started. For some reason, the memes on Oilers Twitter have started about trading Connor McDavid. Why?
He's going to pull a Kevin Durant. It's going to be another playoff exit. And then he's going to go to the Lightning.
I would throw up. I'd actually throw up.
I wouldn't be able to watch.
I'd stop watching hockey for about 5 years and waiting for Vasilevsky and all their times to cycle out.
I have a random speculation. He's gonna decide in 2 years to go to the Lightning or whoever won the cup. Oh yeah, he's gonna go to the Lightning, And suddenly we're going to hear like breaking news. The cap has gone up by $8 million.
Oh God, goodness gracious! You know, is Gary Bettman just hoping that Connor Bedard and Shane Wright don't go to Canadian teams because he's sick of all the good players going to Canada?
Oh my gosh. Imagine both of them go to the Coyotes.
That would be hilarious.
Oh, that's his dream.
He'd be like, "Oh, look at this," and they're still mediocre for another 5 years.
That's
Anyway.
like, you know, it reminds me of the Kovalchuk, Danny Heatley era in the Thrashers.
I don't know how many people thinking that, but you did. Okay, so we're going to quickly go to the standings. I'm going to be like, we're going to do this a little quickly because we are over the hour mark here, and the Leafs game is not far from starting. So 32 teams. I'm going to ask, we're going to start at Tampa. I'll go Alex, you tell me about Panthers. Daniel will go between you two, and we'll go down the standings. Just give me a general thought. We're past the new year. What are you thinking of these teams so far? And if you want to give like an MVP of their season, you can go right ahead. But just like a thought, because, you know, there are some teams I don't think we have really this year talked about Detroit beside, you know, Tyler Bertuzzi and that. So just a nice little way to just, if anyone's listening and they want a word on their favorite team, go ahead. Alex, Tampa, those bastards.
I mean, again, they're top of the division. Yeah, Florida's 2 games in hand with a point behind, but I think, you know, they lost their entire third line. I think we got to remember that. And they're still dominant without Kucherov, without Point. Like, they have these injuries here or there. And I'll go with the MVP, maybe numbers wise, he's not at his peak per se, but Andrei Vasilevsky, I think he's been quite important for that team.
Daniel, their state rivals, the Panthers.
I mean, I have 3 answers, but I think my heart says Carter Verhaeghe, but I'm not going to go with that. I'm going to have to go with Jonathan Huberdeau because I think a lot of the other offensive weapons the team has had, like Alex Barkov or even Sam Reinhart, where I think he's on COVID protocol right now. He has he's running with it. He has 42 points in 33 games. And I guess my third answer, because, you know, that's what we expect from a player like Jonathan Huberdeau. But I think my other answer is just their depth is crazy.
It is.
It is crazy how they are playing everybody at such a high level. Everyone is contributing. Everyone knows their role. And even when guys get out of the lineup, like an Anthony Duclair, like an Alex Barkov, like even I'm checking here right now, like even Mason Marchment, Leafs Marlies legend, Mason Marchment, who was traded for
we want to make this quick.
Dennis Malgin. He has 10 points in 13 games since being called up.
I thought you were going to say, look how they spanked Calgary without even having Nudavara in the lineup, but you went that route. I didn't even mean to do this. Alex, the Leafs.
I mean, they did have a rough start coming out of the season, but again, to me, the regular season doesn't mean much. It's up until the playoffs, but so far, good regular season. MVP, I think it's obvious. I think it has to be Jack Campbell.
Daniel, the Boston Bruins. A lot of games in hand. We're kind of waiting for them to play them, but
yeah, it's kind of interesting with them. It's just they're just staying afloat. I think that my prediction coming into the season was they were going to miss the playoffs, and you know, I'm not completely wrong here because we don't know how everything's going to go with the way their team has been. Like, you know, Nick Foligno was a big signing for them. Their goaltending, like what it's going to happen there with Tuukka Rask when he comes back. They're not really scoring too well. Charlie Coyle, I don't know what's going on with him. He's off the power play. So there's like certain pieces here that, yeah, they're still doing well. They still have the guys we know and not love, but the guys we know. And I'm not sure like where they're gonna go. Like, do you just stay the course?
I'm gonna cut you off. You asked the question, where do they go from here? I'm sorry, but we're running.
Okay.
No 2-hour episodes, Daniel. Alex, the rookie showcase that is the Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah, and I think what Detroit has done this year is they've added to what they did last year on the ice, as well as like just the individual player performances. A lot of guys have taken step forwards. And personally for me, their MVP is Lucas Raymond.
By the way, Daniel, your Boston Bruins MVP.
David Pastrnak.
Yeah, he's pretty good, isn't he? Talk about Pastrnak. He scores a lot of goals. A team that's allowing a lot of goals. They're not as bad as you think. The Buffalo Sabres. Go ahead.
Oh, the MVP for them? Dylan Cousins.
Dylan Cousins. Why?
He's again, like he's expressed that he wants to stay there. And whatever happens with Buffalo, when there's like a silver lining with anything, you just run with it at this point with the season they have. I feel like we're in a debate where you're like, I'm gonna have to cut you off here. So I'm trying to say my answers quick.
There you go. No, it's a quick fire thing. Alex, the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah, I don't think they've taken a step forward this year. I think they've had a rough season that it's partly due to poor goaltending. But I still think there's a bright future there. Personally, I'm going to say their MVP is Thomas Chabot.
Their goal differential is minus 28. It's not as bad as the Habs. Minus 50, Daniel.
For the Habs?
Yeah.
MVP, Jake Allen. I mean, he's doing his best, but I don't know. We've talked about it before. Just sell at the deadline and then just see who's there in the offseason and then figure it out.
Alex, the New York Rangers.
Yeah, I think they're very much exceeding expectations in terms of what we expected for them, and they 100% deserve the credit for it. I'm a little torn on who to pick as MVP, but I'm going to stick with my guns here. I'm going to go with Igor Shesterkin.
That's the right answer. Daniel, if there's one correct answer to this, what do you have to say about Washington?
They are better than I thought they would be, and they're doing it with a lot of top guys. Alex Ovechkin's the MVP, no question.
Okay, good. Alex.
That was so fast.
I know. I would that Twitter account would like come after me. If,
that's weird, isn't it? Yeah, the LV goal counter. Go follow it. Not the one that I realized has actually been going for a couple of years. I'm rather embarrassed while I saw that, but he does it to pass. I do it to tie the guys that always chasing, which is how you should do it anyway. Alex, the Carolina Hurricanes are storm to watch.
I did have them as the team that would let me down this year, and surprisingly, they are not that. It was a little difficult for me to pick a MVP, but because I think it's a team collective there. But I'm gonna go with Sebastian Aho.
Yeah, he was a pretty good player. If you had said Rod Brindamore, I would have been cool with that because he's simmered down Mr. D'Angelo. Daniel, Pittsburgh.
They're going to stay the course. I think they're going to try to add something in the deadline, but that's it. I agree. This might be the last year of that core.
Yep.
And MVP has to be Evan Rodriguez.
Why? They've won 8 straight games.
He's like their only healthy center throughout the whole year.
Yeah. Alex, Philly.
Yeah, Philly's a rough one.
Good luck.
Yeah, they haven't really had the season comeback that we expected them to. And to be honest, there was no real player that stood out to me and said, yeah, he's their MVP. So I'm going to stick with Carter Hart, who much better numbers, but I think the defense in front of him is abysmal.
Yeah. Daniel, the Blue Jackets who are still around. No offense, but
for me, I think that this is the type of year that they wanted to have, that you saw a lot of progression with the young guys. So if I were to pick one of them, because there's just too many young guys, it'd be Cole Sillinger. He wasn't a top 10 pick, but he has stayed with the team. He's gotten the trust of upper management that tends to be a bit more veteran heavy sometimes. So I'm going to go with him.
Sorry. I just, because I want to double check Carter Hart's numbers. 917.
Yeah.
It's amazing when your coach doesn't hate you, how you perform as a goaltender. Alex, New Jersey. Jersey.
Maybe I don't think they're necessarily having the season we expected them to have, similar to Philadelphia, but again, similar to the Ottawa Senators. I think they're building something there that will be better over the years. I'm going to go with my MVP as Jack Hughes. Despite him playing 17 games, he is still a point per game.
He's a nasty player. Daniel, the Islanders.
Are
Islanders. Bad. Yeah. Alex reminded me before we started recording, I had them winning the cup. So
I laughed when listen to that again.
Yeah.
So
Talk about the Islanders though. I don't want to look bad.
honestly, like I think this was going to catch up to them when you have a main cog like Matt Barzal not performing. Then I think everything kind of falls to the wayside, and you're betting on an Anders Lee to kind of come back from major injury, and a Brock Nelson who's not doing anything. And for me, it's really hard. Like, can I pick Barry Trotz as the MVP because he's been able to keep it together despite the slide?
He's a good coach, man. They're 10 wins, 12 losses, not bad. Alex, the division leading Nashville Predators. I cannot believe what I'm looking at.
That is very surprising. I think we've seen comebacks from guys like Duchesne and Johansson, who, by the way, Duchesne 29 points, 13 goals. Johansson 10 goals, 27 points, both 32, 31 games played. Despite that, though, I'm still going to go with UC Saros. I'm not necessarily 100% comfortable with their D per se. I think UC Saros, we know what he is as a goaltender, and it's damn good.
By the way, I'm taking Colorado and San Jose, by the way. I still want you guys to know that.
Sure.
I'm talking about two specific players.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to do this either. Alex, Daniel, the St. Louis Blues and your guy, Jordan Binnington.
Yeah, they've learned from past mistakes of last year, and they've become a lot better than they were before. Like David Perron's not just their only goal scorer now.
Yeah.
For me, I'm gonna have to give it to Vladimir Tarasenko as their MVP. Bounce back candidate. He hasn't talked about that trade demand anymore, and he has been playing like a star again.
Yeah. Colorado, you want to know why they're not leading the division? They have 5 games in hand and are only 4 points behind Nashville. Yeah, they're good. I love the Avalanche so much. It's going to suck when they get Carey Price. Recency bias, maybe, but I think it's because McKinnon's had a bit of injuries this year and he's kind of been held back a few times. Cale Makar is so good. He's the best defenseman in the league, and I love watching him. Alex, Minnesota. Whoopsie.
Yeah, no, I think they're pretty much what we expected of them. It being able to make the playoffs. I'm going to go with Kirill Kaprizov as their MVP.
Really? I couldn't believe that. I really thought that Jordy Ben had a chance.
What am I supposed to say? It's Kirill Kaprizov, man.
They've lost 5 straight, eh?
Yeah, no, they're not killing it at the moment, but things can change.
Kaprizov, he'll do it. Daniel, the winners of 3 straight Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, they're back on the upswing again after Paul Maurice left, and they're finding a bit of consistency here. I'm not completely sold on them yet at being at contender status again, so I'm going to split the MVP simply because they've been healthy and they've been consistent. So it's going to be Nick Ehlers and Pierre-Luc Dubois because they both have 25 and 26 points in 32 games.
Alex had a bad team to find an MVP. He's gonna have another one here. The Dallas Stars, who are consistently meh.
I think they're having an underwhelming season. I think we kind of expected them to have that bounce back, and they didn't. Again, for another year, they didn't have that bounce back. It's just hard to pick an MVP. I'm just gonna pick a couple good stories here. Number one being Jason Robertson, who is 25 points in 23 games, and Braden Holtby, who has been pretty good after a garbage year in Edmonton, in Vancouver.
Not surprised. leaving the bad Canucks, and it works out. Yeah, you're good this year. Calm down. Daniel, your losers of 5 straight. You said they'd be a big disappointment at the beginning of the year, and you're right. It's Chicago.
Yes, they have been horrible on and off the ice. I don't like them except Marc-Andre Fleury. Yeah. But if I were to pick one MVP, it would probably be Kirby Dach. I think that he's holding down the fort.
Is he a real person? Cale Makar doesn't think so.
He's holding down the fort at that center spot. Taves has been absent. They've taken Dylan Strome off of the center position, no matter if it's in the bottom or top 6. And Tyler Johnson has been injured. So hats off to Kirby Dach.
Daniel got stuck with Minnesota, Alex. So you're stuck with the The minus 56 goal differential, 622-3 Arizona Coyotes.
This is like the third team it's impossible to pick an MVP for. But again, like they're kind of doing what we expected of them. So there's not much to really say about this team. I will pick one MVP though. Personally, I'll go with Shane Gostisbehere, who has had somewhat of a bounce back year, 21 points in 31 games so far. Like, it's just hard to pick a guy on this team and say he's their MVP.
Louis Eriksson was a close second.
yeah. You had 6 points in 29 games.
Daniel, they don't have Jack Eichel yet, but the Golden Knights are still leading the Pacific.
Yeah, I know he's only played 19 games, but when he's there, and he's been there recently in their mini surge, I'm going to say it's Mark Stone. I think he just defines like what you want in a captain and what you want as a two-way guy. So I think that he is playing a lot better. I know there was 2 setbacks with the playoffs and the injury in the regular season. So it's Mark Stone.
Alex, some would say the Ducks fly together. Do you agree?
Yes, I think the Anaheim Ducks have taken many steps forward this year. That being said, I think that it's still above expectation and what a lot of people expected. Yep. I think there's an obvious name to pick for MVP, and I'm gonna go with Trevor. I'm gonna go with Trevor Zegras. Like I want to go with Troy Terry really bad. Like 34 points in 35 games is, for a guy like Troy Terry, is very, very good. But I'm gonna go with Trevor Zegras, who's come out swinging this year.
The Calgary Flames, talk about games in hand. They've got 5 on the Ducks, 3 points behind though.
For me, and then I'm just gonna use the MVP to define their season is bounce back, and that's Johnny Goudreau.
Okay.
Because
I haven't looked at his stats this year.
We thought he has 37 points in 31 games.
Nice. Good for him.
So I think that that's what the Flames wanted, is when their stars are clicking like that, then the rest of the team follows suit.
Very good. Hey, Alex, you want to talk about Edmonton?
Like they had a really good start, and it's just currently really, really underwhelming. That being said, I think there is one answer and one answer only to who the MVP is, and it is Connor McDavid.
Good. Daniel, talk to me about the Phil Deneau effect.
Honestly, I thought the Kings were going to be a lot better than they were now. I thought they were going to take another step here and say that, we're ready to contend. Like, they've been okay, but if I'm going to pick an MVP, it'd probably be Anze Kopitar. I think that 3 seasons ago, he had that resurgence and he was back to prime Kopitar, quote unquote, maybe because the team just got a lot better, but he's been showing it.
On a later episode, we're going to look like we had the standings, and I had LA second in the division. Kind of ashamed of that. Very much ashamed of that. Okay. Sharks, Erik Karlsson's back. He's the MVP. That's all you're getting from the show today, San Jose fans. I love you, Erik Karlsson. Alex, the Canucks.
Again, I feel like I'm stuck with all the teams that I don't know who to pick as a MVP. But again, really, really rough start for the Vancouver Canucks, and now under Bruce Boudreau have found new light. But I think it would be unfair of me not to choose Thatcher Demko, just because even though he didn't look great, or his numbers would say that, I think the Vancouver Canucks defense put that man through a hell of a lot of work. And now that it's eased up a bit, his numbers have gone back to what we expect.
On a difficult MVP, Daniel, I challenge you to find one on the Seattle Kraken.
All right. I picked one, and it's been a bit of a downward season for them and still figuring out a lot of things. So my MVP, simply because he's scoring really well, 20 points in 29 games. Just don't look at the plus minus. And he has stayed healthy. So Jaden Schwartz, happy for the guy.
Hey, okay. There you go. That's everything. Next time you see us, Sunday? I don't think the Habs will have played yet. So GM update. Hillis and Pizzetto were just put on a COVID protocol. That's right. Players on their ECHL team are now on COVID protocol. Awesome. My goodness. Okay. Daniel stuff for CGRU, my YouTube channel, Alex's blog. Check out the show social medias, wherever it is. Voice ad, thank you. Great platform, as always, for the show. And yeah, check out our own social medias too. It's great places to talk about hockey. And then Daniel has other stuff too, because he's a fun guy. Oh, Kawhi. Is that how you do it in Toronto?
So no one in Toronto can make funny jokes. Star athletes in Toronto just don't make funny jokes. There was the Matthews Tavares one, front foot. You gotta get to my front foot. Like, come on, guys.
Before we go, I have breaking news.
Let's
okay, well, you know the rule. Scale of 1 to 10.
11.
Oh, okay. You better not be messing with me, otherwise you're banned.
Zach Hyman is wearing an A in his return to Scotiabank Arena.
No, that's
not
Daniel. That's a 5. that's a sim 5. Okay.
That's a sim 5.
We will see you later. Goodbye.
Bye.